This is Roxy, which is an easy name for me to remember. I'm horrible with names, usually done till the end of the session, but I have a niece named Roxy, so this is easy. So this is Roxy's roadmap to success. Now the guardians I mentioned in the video above, I think originally they were concerned the dog had a resource guarding problem. And from what they described at the end of the session, there may be a resource guarding problem with her with other dogs when she has a high value item like a bully stick or a bone or a toy or something like that. If the guardians have problems with that, like I said, I went through the method of how to deprogram her for that. But if she continues doing that, let me know, and I have a video I can share on resource guarding, and it's really easy. The worst thing you can do is you have a dog that resource guards is pull the thing away, because that validates everything the dog is trying to do by guarding its resource. The way that I approach it is teach the dog when people are approaching you or dogs are approaching you, they're not going to take your stuff, they're going to make your situation better. Now in this case though, I think what was going on is I think that she thinks that her job is to be in charge of her humans. Yes, you. Thank you, sweetheart. And her humans didn't have any rules. She gets exercise, but her exercise is typically late in the day, and exercise for dogs is better early in the day, but it's really best if it's sprinkled throughout the day. Little forms of exercise. So I went over some things. I pulled out a laser. I was hoping that she would chase the laser. She wasn't that interested in it, but she is also a little bit has a new person here. So if you have a laser, you may try it a couple times, see if she does it. Some dogs it's unnatural and it's not healthy for them to chase lasers. Some dogs it's a great way to move them around the room. Okay, we have stairs. So using the stairs as a doggy stairmaster. She likes to play fetch. The guardian plays fetch, and that's one of the best ways to burn energy unless you're going to dog ski. But I would just go to the top of the stairs and throw the tennis ball up and down and count each time you throw it. She goes all the way down and brings it all the way up. That would be 1. I talked about starting an exercise journal and then put down the time and how many up downs or how many fetches or how long the walk was or whatever these things are, right there on the time and the quantity, as well as what else is going on. And then if there's an incident where she barks at passersby or the mailman or stuff like that, write that stuff down as well. You'll start noticing trends. Like, you know what, if I got my dog, if every time it's longer than 5 hours between exercise, she gets really barky at the window. And so we can kind of find that roadmap to success, and then, or not, find what she needs, the cocktail for success. And then basically at the end of each day, just each of you give a letter grade, A through F, and keep on varying the quantity and the number of practice sessions till you get an A+ day. Then you know, okay, this is what we need to do to help the dog put the dog in a position to succeed. Now we live on the guardians live on a street where there's nice windows right here in front of the house, and it allows the dog to look down a little bit down on the street, and that gives the dog the perception of a little more status authority. For dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or status they have. So sitting on the furniture gives the dog that artificial perception of authority. Plus, I'm looking down at people. Plus, it works. For dogs, like if this is the window in front of me, I'm the dog, and I see somebody coming, I'm like, hey you, I don't want you coming here. I'm the guard dog here. I'm in charge. Why are you still walking? Now you're directly in front of my house. This is the last place I want you. I want you to leave. That's right. You better keep on, and that's right. And don't come back. And every time that happens, little, why did I forget your name? Roxy here thinks that she defended your house. Those people are going to invade, but because of her due diligence and her aggressive behavior, those people walked by. Now, really, they were just going to walk by anyways, but she doesn't know that. And so each time this happens, she thinks she did it, and it rewards her. So one of the things I talked about was a little what we call maintenance. So if I have a dog that looks down like this, I might take paper and put it between the panes of the window to prevent the dog from being able to see the street. You want to lay down? Okay, I'll give you one for down. And this way the dog can't practice going over and looking down and barking and thinking that she's defending it. And so we take away the root cause of the problem. The root cause is really, I think, a lack of rules and structure. So one of the rules would be not being allowed on the furniture. This is probably a last hurrah for you for a little while. This is also going to be helpful in this family because they're going to be expecting their first child soon. And so if we help the dog practice not being on the furniture now, then when the baby comes, it's not the baby is the cause of I'm not allowed on the furniture. I've just been conditioned not to be on the furniture temporarily. Now there's a yoga mat right here, and I showed the guardians how to condition the dog to go to the dog mat on command. Remember to go to Groupon for those. Make sure to use one that's a solid color, no pattern, foam inside it, not feathers, and preferably a light gray, a white, or a light cream, maybe white because it'll match her coat, so that she can see it really easily. And remember, say the word after the treat goes into her mouth. But obviously the maintenance, the other thing we might want to do is get X mats, the letter X and MAT. You get those on Amazon, and they're little things that you put on the chairs, and they have little studs on them that the dog won't want to sit on. And so this way, when we're gone, since she's not kenneled, she doesn't have practice getting up on the furniture. Remember, you have to have at least 30 days of breaking the old behavior pattern to start establishing a new behavior pattern. Don't think you're doing her any favors by letting her once a week up on the furniture. That's just going to confuse her. Inconsistency is one of the hugest ways that humans can confuse their dogs. Consistency helps them learn much faster. Other rules that we went over: not being allowed, as the video above, not being allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food, not being allowed at the dining room table when we're eating food. Maybe putting some painter's tape down in different sections of the house so she knows where the boundaries are. And also practicing. We came up with a cute command of reservations, means to leave the kitchen. So we can do what I showed in the video above, but I also like to set that up, and I forgot to talk about in the video, by first teaching the dog to leave the kitchen voluntarily to get a reward. So the dog's in the kitchen, I touch her nose with the treat, and I throw the treat right outside the kitchen. When she licks it up off the ground, I said the word reservations. So if you do that a couple of times a day, maybe 3 or 5 treats, 5 times a day, with the end of the week, you say reservations, dog will run outside the window, the kitchen. This way you don't have the reverse herding, or if the dog creeps in, you say, reservations, and the dog runs outside and knows what's going on. I also went over how to teach the dog to leave a room. Message me if you forget how to do that. You're really liking these treats. These are chicken liver. When it comes to treats for dogs, the most important thing is the smell of the treat. The temperature is second most important. Taste is a distant third. They prefer warm food. That will kill squirrels and rabbits, especially terriers, and eat them while blood's still going through their veins. So if you feed your dog canned food, make sure you leave it out about an hour before you feed the dog. It'll make it more appealing for the dog. Other rules, let me see, not being allowed to, or having to sit before we let it in or out the door. Remember, keep on, say sit once and wait 3 seconds. If it doesn't sit by the 3rd second, walk away, sit down somewhere, wait 1 minute, try again, then 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, keep doubling the length of time. And as soon as the dog hits sit down, open that door, let him out. Let me see. You can also delay a little gratification when you're playing fetch. I like to incorporate delayed gratification to help a dog practice self-control. So she loves to fetch. So maybe your guardian throws the ball, she comes back and brings it, drops it, the guardian picks it up and says sit, and waits for her to sit and waits for her to be calm, then throws the ball. And so now we incorporate a 5-second sit break in this excited activity. We're helping the dog practice revving up and revving down. That's really important. A lot of people confuse excited for happy when it comes to dogs. Well, the guardians here do it. When they come home, the dog runs and jumps up on basically this part of the couch right by the door and wants attention. The guardians have been walking past that and walking about 10 paces into the house before they actually start petting the dog. But anything your dog is doing when you pet is what you're reinforcing, including unbalanced states of mind like excitement, but also fear, stress, anxiety, and scared and aggression, things along those lines. So if your dog is nervous, you can let your dog know I'm here with you by touching your dog and leaving your hand there without amplifying it. But if I start petting, I'm going to make it worse. Now also, how you pet your dog matters. If I pet my dog like this, I can make it more excitable. So when I pet to calm, I use very slow strokes like that. And when she is calm like this, you might want to actually pet her and say settle, or zen, or chill, or something that's in context. Most of us use command words when the dog is out of context. The dog's going crazy and we're like, calm down. Well, the dog's like, well, calm down must mean clearly gets excited because that's why they pet me. So instead, when your dog is in a calm and balanced state of mind, petting her and saying zen, then later on when she is excited, we can say zen and she knows what it means, that we put it in context. Now when the guardians come home, she's like, why are you not giving me that last piece in your hand? When the guardians come home, I would like for them to ignore her completely. Wait and just don't say no, don't say anything. And as soon as she calms down, then they're going to start reaching for her. I call this light switch on. As soon as she sees that, she's getting excited. Pull your arm back and continue doing what you're doing. It'll be several times back and forth going like this, and eventually get closer and closer, and eventually you can touch her. But as soon as she gets excited, stop. Don't tell her no. Just walk away and do whatever you were doing before. After a while, she'll learn when I'm calm and balanced and relaxed, the humans are petting me. When I get excited and bouncy, they stop petting me and they move away and I become invisible to them. After enough repetition, the dog will just start offering the calm behavior all the time. Now, if you forget how to, she also likes to jump up, and that's an issue when people, especially when people come over. So if she continues doing that, you forget the leash trick that I showed you, that I talked about, message me and I can share a video of that with you. I also went over escalating consequences on how to disagree with the dog's unwanted behaviors. Let me know if that's a problem, if you forget those. But the thing that I think the guardian's going to get the most bang of the buck out of, enforcing the rules consistently is important. But, and remind me about feeding. But also, petting at the right times can have a profound impact. So one of the things I want the guardians to do is when she jumps up on them or nudges them for attention, every time they pet her, That's validating that she's in charge of us, because when she tells the humans what to do, they do. So clearly I have a status, or I have dominion over them. So from now on, when she comes and nudges you or jumps up on you, give her a counter order. Tell her to sit. When she sits, pet her under her chin and say just the word sit. Avoid saying good dog, good sit, or go this, or go do that, or what a smart dog you are. Just say sit, or down, or come, or whatever it is. The more words you use, the harder it is for dogs to understand what you're saying. So if the dog jumps up at me, nothing happens anymore. Except, well, if something does happen, the human tells you what to do. I tell you a counter order and tell you to sit. If it's already sitting, ask it to come sit over here. Just do something to change its state. When it does, pet on its chin and just say that command word. After a while, the dog will start prepaying for attention by sitting ahead of time to ask you for the attention. Now, something else I use is called passive training, which is waiting for the dog to organically offer you a behavior without any influence. So every time the dog comes to you, pet her and say come. Every time she lays down on her own, pet her and say down. Every time she sits, pet her and say sit. When she brings you a toy, name each one of your toys. And just through repetition, like I said, dogs need repetition, consistency, and good timing. So if every time I come to them, I hear the word come, well, then I'm at the dog park, I'm having a good time, and they say come, I'm really having a good time with the other dog, but I'm going to come anyways. If you're at the dog park and she comes in and check in with you, which a lot of dogs do, pet her and say the word come, and then let her go and play. A lot of us use our dog's command words in kind of a buzzkill capacity. We're at the dog park, we're having a great time, when we're leaving, we say come, the dog comes to us, we put the leash on, and the fun ends. Well, now 10 times at the dog park, I come and check in with them, they pet me, and I say your word come, and I get to go play some more. And after a while, you say come, and she just means come and get a treat. Okay, now I want to cover some baby tips. We have a nursery upstairs, and so I'd like the guardians to start practicing and setting the dog up for success for the baby. So one of the things I want the mom to do is pick a lotion or an oil or something that she got from her baby shower and put a couple stripes on her arms, and then walk around all day with that scent. And then dad can do that as well. And so we're introducing these smells are going to be associated with the baby, but independent of the baby. So the dog gets it out of its system, and it's an easy capacity. So do that and rotate all those, and keep on doing them until you've done them a couple times for each particular lotion. That doesn't look comfortable. How about if you come down here? Sit. Sit. So remember, just say the command word. Okay. So you want to get down over here. Is this a little easier if you're off my lap? Is that better? There we go. I don't want to manhandle you. I want you to do what you want to do. Okay, so let me see what else. So for the we won't, also one of the things that she gets excited about is the leash. So I went through a process that will desensitize her and help her stay calm when we're going through the leashing process. Remember to practice that at times when you're not taking her for a walk to help her get conditioned to that. Now, if she still runs underneath the table when you pull out that collar, use the conditioned emotional response, or CER, that I showed you. And again, if you forgot that, I have videos, remind me, and I'll share those with you as well. We can use the same sort of CER response with the baby to introduce the smell of the baby to the dog, independent of the baby itself. So what we want to do is just have that towel that we're going to have the nurse or somebody wipe the baby down. Then we're going to put it in a Ziploc bag, and Dad's going to bring it home the first day. Sorry, sweetheart. We're going to just have both hands behind our back. One hand's got a bunch of treats. She's found the treats. She's a smarty pants. One hand has the treats, and the other hand has a towel. We sweep the hand out with the towel. She looks at it. We drop a treat on the ground and then pull it away. And we keep on doing this back and forth about 5 or 6 times. Then I splash it out and hold it within 6 inches of the dog's nose. And when she touches it with her nose like that, then I would drop another treat on the floor. And if you know the baby's name, you can start saying the baby's name when she licks the treat in her mouth. Now we create an auditory cue or association that's positive with the baby's name. So after a while, you start doing it, hold it out, and the dog comes and touches its nose to it. Then at that point, I put it on the floor, the dog sniffs it or touches his nose, I drop a treat on there. And I have about 5 or 6 treats, and every time the dog sniffs, I do the same thing. And if she lingers there, just wait for her to go away, and then when she comes back, toss another treat. Do this for about the first 3 days or so. So that way when the baby comes home, she's in a position to succeed. Now, speaking of putting the dog in positions to succeed, I'd like the guardians to start enrolling her in dog daycare now. So they can find a daycare that she likes, she can make some buddies there, and get comfortable with it. When we have a baby that arrives in a family, usually mom is in the hospital for 3 days or longer. And dad is typically working and they go in the hospital, so the dog really gets neglected. So I always recommend the dog should go to daycare for the day of the baby arriving and the 3 days after that, because that's when you're going to have a lot of people. But really almost for a week after that as well. So that way we've depleted the dog's energy, given it plenty of socialization. When it comes home, all the guests, all the visitors, all the crying baby and all that fun stuff, the dog is easy and set up for success. Now, the 30 days for the rules, I'm going to touch on the rules real quick. We should do the rules for 30 days or as long as the problem's still a case. And eventually, when we let the dogs back in the furniture, it should be with an invitation. And only invite once. If the dog doesn't come, then don't invite multiple. Hey, it's rescinded. So after a while, it was like, if they offer me something, I better take advantage of it right away. Otherwise, I might not get it. Let me see. What else do we go over? Something I forgot to go over, but basically for dogs, they eat in the order of their rank, and eating is the most primarily important activity for dogs. So I'd like the guardians to stop free feeding. They fill the bowl up in the morning and then in the evening. What I'd like them to instead to do is to put food in the bowl and defend it the same way that we did with the kitchen. Just because food's in the bowl doesn't mean you have permission. Again, this is a great opportunity to develop a little self-control. So then whoever's feeding her would grab a chip, a cracker. You can eat your real meal if you want, but just you have to eat something of 5 or more bites. When that person gets done, they should go over, tap the bowl, and when the dog takes the first bite of food, say a funny command word for that. Remember to use funny command words. So I say feast, chow, grub, and comida, Spanish for food. But if you like sushi, maybe you say sushi, or whatever it is. Come up with something funny. But that way, when she takes her first bite of food, you say the word sushi, and after about 2 months, you can say sushi, and she knows that means that's my permission word to go eat my food. So the more of these that we can give, put things in context, the more we can help the dog remember. Now, one of the things that I went over was how to teach the dog to leave the room. Now, the guardian is trying. Are you trying to get the cat to come to you or the dog? Okay. So she was kind of tapping, and the cat kind of saw it. Now the dog wants to play. This is my hand motion I use to get a dog to come and make them sit. I go over their head. She beat me to it. Let's do it this way. Come here. So what I want to do is go an arc over the head. When the dog sits, I let it lick the treat off my hand. And remember, whenever possible, try to pet your dog under the chin. I like the guardians come up with a list of command words, the official command words. And if somebody's saying come here instead of come, we say vocabulary, the person goes, come. So that way, by consolidating it, we make it much easier for the dog to remember. We also went over, do you have some reverse sneezes?
Yeah.
He does.
I can show you how to fix that. Although it stopped, I'll show you anyways. So I'd like a couple other watchwords. I say paycheck if I suspect someone's petting without a purpose. I say testify or recognize or reward if the dog somebody's petting the dog or the dog offered a behavior that we like that somebody missed. Now to do this, what you want to do is your dog has this is called a reverse sneeze. So if the dog does it, if you put pressure on the diaphragm right underneath the rib cage and put not a lot, just a little bit, and just hold it there, that will usually stop it. There's nothing wrong with them reverse sneezing, but sometimes get into like a bit of a spell, and that will help. I share a little bit of dog knowledge all the time. See how easy that worked? Or is that just because you got the treat? Yes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think this is primarily most of it. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff. We cover a lot in 3 hours. Now, if you have questions, make sure you call or text me. It's very common to need to make little adjustments the first week or 2 after the session, but I've had people call me literally years after I worked with them. One guy actually, his dog passed away. He got a puppy. He moved to the East Coast. I was able to help him with a 5-minute phone call. Don't charge him for it. I want you guys to feel like you have support because you do. But if I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great. So if there are any questions when the baby comes or anything else, make sure you let me know. And upping her exercise, I think, is going to help, and also setting up for success. So if we're going to have people come over, making sure that she gets a long walk ahead of time. This is why the daycare before the baby comes. The last thing I'm going to cover is just a really quick summary of how I solve dog behavior problems. If the dog has a behavior problem, first thing I ask myself is, have I taught the dog how it should behave in that activity? If I haven't, she's like, no, they didn't. So then that's our responsibility, not the dog's responsibility. What I do then is I recreate the situation. I may strip away as many of the elements as I need to until it's the easiest version of that situation as possible. Then I go even further. I break down the activity I want the dog to participate in into individual steps and have the dog practice step 1 over and over. I'm telling them, you're going to get the treat when I get done. Over and over that one step until the dog knows how to behave. If she does that, you might say grumble, which is again how I taught my dog to grumble. Be careful because now I come home and he wants attention. He goes, but it's funny. So basically, I break the dog's activity or participation into individual steps and help the dog practice step 1 over and over in the easiest capacity possible in a practice scenario until the dog is doing it automatically. Then I go to step 2, step 3, step 4, go through all the individual steps, break them into small, tiny steps, help the dog practice over and over again. Once it knows how to behave for all the individual steps, the next step is to bring all those steps together again in the easiest capacity possible. And then once the dog can do all the lineage of steps together, grumble, then I can basically, that might be a funny one for you guys. But then I gradually start bringing back the other elements. So we had a barbecue here, and there are a lot of people in the house. The dog probably didn't get exercise that day as much as we'd like. There's a lot of people, there's kids in the house, there's food in the house. I'm not prepared for this. I think I'm in charge of everything. I'm the rule maker. None of these people are following any of my rules. I'm getting more and more stressed out, and now they're taking food off the table, and I got to defend it. I'm going to nip people at their feet. I'm pretty sure that was what was going on. So the more the guardians enforce rules, reward desired actions and behaviors properly, grumble, and I use passive training and petting with a purpose, the dog's going to shift into more of a follower's mindset. Instead of telling us what to do, it's going to count on us to handle things for them. So again, break things down in individual steps, help the dog practice all the individual steps, and work your way back to a real world situation. Last thing is I showed them a focus exercise. For the focus exercise, you're going to have 12 treats in your hand. Make sure your hands look uniform. A lot of people go like this with one and this, then the dog looks there. So I hold my hand like this, so they look almost identical. And after the dog takes focus, that should have been a grumble because you did grumble. And then I immediately reload. Focus. Remember, 1 second, 1 second for all 12 treats, but after 1 or 2 practice sessions, 1 second, 2 seconds for the second movement. And then gradually add more and more seconds to that second movement until you get up to 15 seconds, and you want to get to 15 seconds within a week. I'd like to see each guardian practicing with the dog twice a day, 12 treats each time. It shouldn't take longer than about 60 seconds every time you're doing it, and you'll notice the dog's going to start looking at you faster and faster. Eventually you say focus, and the dog looks up at you. And I want you to use that when somebody comes on the street or somebody's coming by or something going on that you know the dog's reactive for. Beat the dog to the punch. Don't let it practice going over there and getting all wound up. Call it over. This is that hand motion I was trying to show you. Sit. Your camera presence is not very good though because you keep on putting your back to the camera. Let's see if we can do it from the side. Like this. Sit. And then tickle under the chin. Remember to pat under the chin as much as possible. Don't pat on top of the head. And then last thing is when you have guests come over, if you have another barbecue, give each guest like 5 of these treats when they come in. Say, look, the dog can sit, focus, lay down, shake, or I want you to give all 5 treats within the first 10 minutes, but the dog has to earn them all. And after a while, the dog starts seeing people that come in as not as an infiltrator, but somebody who's a delivery person of treats, but makes me earn those treats, so I have to have a little bit of respect for them. And if you have somebody that the dog really has a problem with, sometimes that focus exercise is great because it practices them looking in the person in the face, focus, and getting rewarded for doing so. Well, this really, really cute girl, come here, sweetheart. Let's turn you around. This is Roxy. Yes, and she is a sweetheart. This is Roxy's roadmap to success. Make sure you chew them all next time. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Right, Roxy? Yeah. Okay.